Pretty amazing news. Neil Petrie, I don't think you're planning to audition for reality TV. You've done some rather more important things in your life. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm definitely not trying for reality TV.
The money's good. Don't say no before you hear the figures. I think you'd have no trouble in the jungle at all. You were an Army intelligence officer 16 years. Tell us a little bit about that, and also your involvement with the UK direct democracy movement.
Yeah, I was in the military joining in 81. So I went to Sandhurst and then came out and went straight into the intelligence school, and obviously did a few jobs in there for 16 years. A variety. So I had good training and good times, a lot of good people I obviously work with, and some interesting places around the world, Hong Kong, America, and obviously a few other spots. And then after that, or during that time, actually, I heard about the Swiss democracy. And obviously in the military, you don't get involved in all of the political side of things, but that sparked my interest in direct democracy, which is what I do now with a group of people looking at, setting up a direct democracy in the UK, or more of a system similar to the Swiss one, really. So that's what we're trying to do, and there's a good movement with Neil Oliver's group that we work with. Nigel Farage is a supporter of the direct democracy, as is Andrew Bridgen. So there's it's getting some momentum now, and we're doing that. Sorry.
How does that? Yeah, finish your point, and I'll ask you a question. Sorry, I talked over you twice.
So basically, we're getting all of these different people together, trying to get Trump to take on some interest as well, because they can do advisory referendums in the States as well, but they're only advisory, under their constitution.
How does the model that you're promoting work? What does direct democracy want to see implemented in Britain?
Well, we're a movement, we're not a party. So all we're trying to do is encourage people to understand. It's really to inform, to reform, so that people have become aware that on top of the representatives, basically, you have the direct democracy tools of direct democracy. So you can use referendums on every law coming out of Parliament. Now, it doesn't mean you get a referendum on every one, but if you get enough support, for instance, if they get 1% of the voters in Switzerland signing up to petition for a referendum, then you can have a first past the post referendum. And so that's the defensive way. So you stop the politicians cranking out rubbish, and that's the main defense.
So you could, for example, have a referendum in the United Kingdom just to simply say, do you support, do you want to see the scrapping of the net zero targets? Yes or no?
Yeah, these are the types of things. If it's a law and there's a law saying all of these different things, then you could do that. Or you could also start an initiative, they call it in Switzerland. So there's two things. There's the offensive one, which is the initiative, which means that you can create your own law, Lembit, and whatever it was you wanted to cover. And but you have to get 2% of the voters signing up. It's about 100,000 in Switzerland. But that's it. If you get 2% signing up, you will then, would be about 1 million here. About almost exactly 1 million you need to get signed up, but then you could introduce that as an idea. You get the 2%, you get the first past the post referendum on that basis, and then if you win, you'll get your law in place. Only about 15% of those types of things go through in Switzerland, but they do go through.
That's quite interesting, Neil. I was one of maybe 2 million people who marched through London in opposition to what was, I regard as, the illegal war in Iraq. Government just ignored it. It sounds to me that, it sounds to me that if it actually had a referendum on that, it's hard to work out foreign policy like that. But if we had a referendum, the majority would have been opposed by then, and had been justified in being opposed. Just in terms of the resistance you'll get, having been in Parliament will do anything to not give away power. It wants to make it look like it's giving away power, but it gives it to its mates, which is why the Bank of England can set the interest rate, which I think is a terrible mistake in itself. Have you got to the stage where Parliament has started providing active resistance to your proposal?
Not that we've seen yet, not directly, because we're very new to this game, really, and very small. However, we're gaining momentum quickly, so that we're expecting, obviously, that opposition that will definitely arise. And Andrew Bridgen, as I say, is already supporting it. So there's an MP in Parliament who's backing direct democracy. And, he came to our meeting in Sheffield on the 2nd of April and he spoke there. So it's underway, it's starting. And, we've got independents who are standing for direct democracy. They'll be standing at the next election. There's quite a few people who are in reform who'd like to stand on the basis of direct democracy as well, which Nigel backs. But I think within the party, from Tice and a few others up there, there's no support, I don't think. So I'm just trying to persuade them, look, whoever goes for this is going to get a lot of support because, whenever we talk to people about it, they can go to our website, ddrightnow.com, and on there is our proposal. It's a one-page downloadable PDF document, and it lays out exactly the process we're recommending. But as I say, we're not a party, we're a movement, and encouraging people to adopt that. But there are people who are, one MP already, as it were, and they're lining up now. So that's the plan.
Give me a call. I think I'm quite interested in this myself. Not because I want to settle any scores. It's actually because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad to hear that. A lot of people find it very, they convert very quickly, to be honest.
Do you know the referendum I'd want to have, Neil? It would be about drugs policy. I would want to legalize and regulate all drugs because,
the Swiss have very, kind of sensible drugs laws, and they really try to help people get off them, but they're not so criminally dealt with, so they're more decent in that. But that's what you could suggest. You could look at something like that and see where someone's doing it, where it's working, and helping them through that process so that, they don't get like, look at America with fentanyl and all the rest of it, I mean, is it 500,000 have died on that stuff?
No, I've never met a single person in my entire life who said, well, I was a drug addict, but then the government made it illegal, so I stopped. Not one person in my whole life. I'd rather tax the addict and then use the tax to fix the situation, or at least to manage the situation. But that's for another time. Fascinating. I'm seriously interested in talking with you more about this. I want to well, thank you for doing something which would actually increase the accountability of our parliament, which is in a terrible part of the state at the moment.